Hello and welcome back. Over the course of the next 6 lessons, we're going to go through a step-by-step process of how to create an on-demand EC2 instance covering items such as the AMI, instance types, bootstrapping and user data, IP addresses, EC2 storage types, and also key pairs and how to log into an EC2 instance once it is provisioned. So in this particular lesson, we're going to start with the AMI. So let me click on that to bring up this section here on the Orion papers. And then also I'm going to dive back into EC2 here in the console. And what I'm going to do here is click on Launch Instance. And this is going to launch our on-demand instance. So the first thing that we need to choose here is our Amazon Machine Image, or AMI. So what is that? Well, an AMI is a pre-configured package or a template that is required to launch an EC2 instance. And it includes an operating system, as we see here, Amazon Linux, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, Ubuntu, Microsoft Windows Server 2016 base, Microsoft Windows 2016 base with containers. So the first thing, and the thing that you should always think about with AMIs, is that you're choosing the operating system. Next is various software packages. So this could be things such as being installed with Python, Ruby, Perl. Again, just various other software packages that may come pre-installed with the AMI. And then there's some other required settings which come as part of an AMI, and those can be the root device type, which is listed here as EBS, and then also virtualization type, which we're going to talk about later on in this lesson. It is also important to understand that in Amazon Machine Images are used with auto-scaling to quickly launch new servers on demand and to quickly recover from disaster. So what we have here, since we have a pre-configured template, when we're using them with auto-scaling, we can easily just use one of these to generate a new instance within seconds, or if one of our instances fails, we can always just regenerate it from an AMI, which we may have created one of these pre-made AMIs instead. We can also create our own AMI, choose from a list of free AWS or community-provided AMIs, or choose one from the marketplace. So what are these three options here? You see them: community, AWS Marketplace, and My AMIs. What we're looking at here are the community AMIs, and those are listed under Quick Start or also under community AMIs. And these are AMIs that are provided by Amazon or that may be provided by other users but are offered up as free in the AWS community. Then there's the AWS Marketplace, and these are going to be pay-to-use AMIs, generally because they come with pre-packaged or additional licensed software. So this is going to be AMIs that come obviously with the operating system, but then with some heavy-hitting enterprise-type software that you will have to pay to use. And as you can see here, they're price listed for the hour of use or by the year of use. And lastly, there are My AMIs, and we don't have any yet, but we will have one at the end of this section. But this is where you can actually create your own AMIs. So we can use one of the community AMIs, let's say the Amazon Linux AMI, and then we can make our own customizations to it and then create a template or create our own AMI from the customization that we've done, and that would then be placed here under the My AMIs. Now, let's move on to virtualization and talk a little bit about what this is. But virtualization is the process of creating a virtual version of something rather than the actual version of that thing. So that's exactly what we're doing here when we talk about EC2 being a virtual server in the cloud. Because what's happening here is that in the AWS data center, they will have a server, but on that server, they may be running 10, 20, or 30 different virtual EC2 instances, right? We're sharing the physical hardware with other AWS users. And through the process of virtualization, what they're doing is they're taking the processing power of that one server and they're breaking it up into smaller pieces that everybody is using. And that's done using virtualization software. So when it comes to what EC2 actually uses, is they actually run what is called the Xen hypervisor software. That's a software that they run on the actual hardware in the AWS data centers in order to create many virtual machines on the one physical machine. And it's important to understand also that the maintenance of the physical AWS server and the Xen hypervisor is handled by AWS. That's not anything that we have to be responsible for. That's just something that they are strictly responsible for installing and managing. Now, for the individual AMIs that we launch, there are two different types of virtualization that runs on top of the Xen hypervisor, and that is HVM, or hardware virtual machine, or PV, which is paravirtual. So let's just talk about a few of the characteristics of each of these, because you don't really need to know in detail about both of these for this particular exam, but it is important just to be aware of them in case a question does pop up. For HVM, which you see here listed under most of these AMIs, is a virtualization type that provides the ability to run an operating system directly on top of the virtual machine without any modification, as if we were running it on the bare metal hardware. The Amazon EC2 host system emulates some or all of the underlying hardware that is presented to the guest. And unlike PV guest, paravirtual virtualization, HVM guests can take advantage of the hardware extensions that provide fast access to the underlying hardware on the host system. So just some important points there that you want to read over maybe again and make sure that you understand. Next, for PV virtualization, it's important to understand that guests can run on host hardware that does not have explicit support for virtualization, but they cannot take advantage of special hardware extensions such as enhanced networking or GPU processing. Now, historically, PV guests had better performance than HVM guests in many cases, but because of enhancements in HVM virtualization and the availability of PV drivers for HVM AMIs, this is no longer true. And that's why we see now for most of these AMIs, they all use the HVM virtualization type, because HVM has become much better in its virtualization and runs better in the AWS environment. So now that we know a little bit about AMI essentials and virtualization, we now want to actually go through and select our AMI. For the remainder of this course, we're going to be working with the Amazon Linux AMI. So all we need to do to make the selection is just to click Select. And then we move on to the next choice, which will be to choose an instance type, and that's what we're going to cover in the next lesson. So for now, we'll conclude this video. Thank you for watching. You may now move on.